Hello everyone. So we're here for our tech show. Um, my name is Manu, as you know, and this is Hiskis. You've already seen him in an episode of Mint Interviews.
Hello.
Hiskis is a programmer.
Yeah, programmer.
He-
The other things.
He does it at university. So
yeah. I'm currently doing my PhD at a university in Korea. I study AI, program a lot. It's painful sometimes, but it's okay.
So yeah, like Hiskis is much better than me in these matters.
We're getting there.
But yeah, we were thinking of talking about privacy for this video. And when we think about privacy and technology, immediately I guess we think of like cameras outside and phones.
Yeah.
I think especially of phones. Like there's that that thing that in public we talk a lot about these days, which is if governments or companies spy on us and if they're looking at us through our phone cameras and listening to us, what do you think about that?
I think it's when it comes to government and like these companies or these huge companies like Facebook and all these companies, they do have that sort of access normally. We just choose to trust them with what they have. It's very difficult not to have that kind of information. Definitely, like phone manufacturers like Samsung and all these companies, they do try their best to not provide too much information. There are like restrictions when it comes to even when developing an app, you gotta allow the application to access some specific things. But definitely, like it's not always secure. If a company that we trust chooses to exploit the information that they have on us, they definitely can. It's not very easy to do.
That's a very good point that you said about you having to agree to the things, like when it comes to like that terms that you gotta accept at the like when you install an app or something. But I think most people don't actually read it because like there's so much to read and it's so intricate that I think if you actually read it, you would be shocked to see like how much they take from your data.
Yeah, it's definitely true. I've watched this documentary on a few months ago, I think. It's on the social medias and what kind of things that they're capable of doing when it comes to influencing your decisions and these targeted advertisements that we get. And one of the things that kind of stayed with me was that if you don't pay for these products, you're definitely right. They're selling something that they gotta make money, and the way they make money is through the information that they get from it. Right? They build these online profiles that other companies can use to influence your decisions, basically. But it could be normal, small advertisements, or we hear these huge scandals in the US, for example. Someone has been influenced some of the decisions that they're trying to make politically or like socially. It could be any perspective of society, but they can definitely use those things too.
Like the Cambridge Analytica.
That's one of the biggest things. Even the current congressional hearing on TikTok, it's pretty interesting. If you have the time to watch it, there's a lot of funny things going on, but some of them they do have a point, right? Definitely TikTok is a huge platform. There's a lot of good going on there, but there's also some negative sides as to how the company is able to access some specific information about users, how they're able to influence these different social groups. It's a huge industry, and that there's a whole lot of problems.
I mean, with Cambridge Analytica, for those of you who didn't know about that, it was basically Cambridge Analytica was a company that was paid by different people. For example, presidential candidates who would pay this company to get as many voters as possible.
Yep.
And Cambridge Analytica did a very good job in accessing people's data, see what you usually search for online, and through your information they could determine what kind of stuff you're into, if you're easily manipulated or not, if you're a person who tends to follow trends, if you're someone who tends to stay away from the crowd and try new ideas, and they would figure out if it was worth their time to convince you or not. So if you're someone who's hard to be persuaded to get a new opinion, and they can see from what you're looking at you're supporting another candidate, they would not target you. If you're somebody who's easily manipulated and who easily changes opinion, even if you're like supporting another candidate and searching up things about another candidate, they would try to sway you to the candidate who paid them. If you're someone who's already supporting that candidate, maybe they wouldn't waste their time on you because you're already probably gonna vote, or they could just make sure that you're gonna vote and like put on your feed more positive things about that candidate. So they would force feed you positive things, information, if they think you are someone who's worth feeding that information to.
That's true.
Like, do you think that, I mean, Cambridge Analytica was, you know, they were like they ended the company and all that, they were punished. Do you think that it was like an example was set and it won't happen a lot again, or do you think it's just gonna keep happening as if it was something?
Personally, I think it's still gonna keep happening. One reason that I say that is because, like, these past few weeks, there's been a congressional hearing in the US where TikTok has been, the CEO of TikTok had to come, and then they had to question him a few questions. They had to ask him a few questions. And the one thing that's very clear is that the government doesn't really have any idea what's going on with these companies.
Yeah.
And unless there's someone that understands the problems and the tech, and that entity or that body of government or whatever is able to set these policies or these rules against stuff like this happening, I don't think it can do so, right? And they're alarmingly underinformed about the problem. It's just shocking. Because they have no idea what's going on. They don't know these platforms. They don't know the problems that these platforms are causing. It's mostly the later generations that understand what these platforms can do, what they're capable of. And I think there's a huge gap there. Unless that gap is like it narrows down, and unless the government understands what's going on, it's going to be hard. I think Korea does a decent job at this because you see the government is more informed about tech, and they're using tech for their advantage as well. They know what's going on. Like, you've seen previous scandals like Enthron and all that, where people are like forced to do like all these different things, blackmailed into doing different things through online ways. I'm not sure if you have ever heard of that Enthron.
I have not heard of it.
So it's where in Korea, these people different people created all these Telegram groups, and what happened was they started blackmailing these girls. They started taking their pictures, and first they talk to them, they kind of flirt with them, they get like pictures and stuff, and they start blackmailing them, saying that, oh, you live here, and your parents, I'm gonna send this to your parents unless you do this, right? I see. And it started growing, and there's like tens of thousands of people that in those groups, and it's morally completely wrong, but the government was able to find the people that are responsible for it. It was very impressive because the government's response, as well as the journalists that were involved, there was also a documentary about that. It was pretty interesting. So I think the Korean government they're really well informed, and I really admire them. But most other countries are not.
Yeah, but like in those groups, like they wanted to take money from the girls. Like they were blackmailing for money, or.
So what happens is they make the girls send more pictures that are they're very disturbing.
I see. So like they keep exploiting for more sexual material so that they can use the sexual
They
material.
can sell it.
They can sell it, or
And the people that join, they keep paid. Right?
I see.
And there were so many, like I think hundreds of thousands of people. In
I
those
see.
groups.
Like
So,
I think maybe one of the reasons why the Korean government is on top of that is because I guess the biggest crime in Korea is cyber, because
Yeah.
like the streets are incredibly safe. Like there's nobody carries guns or knives, or
Yeah.
they don't even do petty thefts. You can drop your wallet and people will give it to the police or to the nearest shop, and you'll find it later if you go searching for it. Like I hear a lot of stories about cyber crimes, so I didn't know about that one that you just said, but like I know that there's a lot of cameras in toilets, like little cameras, or like in love hotels, or like in different places where they can record. I guess girls especially, and then they sell that information.
It's a big part. It's a really big problem. I think that's partly because the society is more caught up with technology as well. They know how to use it. So there's definitely going to be like these bad actors in like anywhere. And they can definitely use that. And you see all these like cameras in hotels and like all these different like places. And you hear a lot of crimes, a lot of things go on really. So it was kind of a little scary, to be honest. I guess every country has their own problems, and maybe a few ways to circumnavigate that, to avoid that, would be to like just be cautious, check for reputations, and always kind of look around if you go to like a hotel or anything. So it's always safe to do that.
Like also a very interesting thing is how this privacy thing in terms of technology really affects people's personalities and the way they live every day, especially in Korea. Because I think one of the reasons why there's not so much crime in Korea in the streets, for one, like it's safe. Like people are actually culturally, culturally speaking, they're not violent. But I think the fact that there's cameras everywhere also helps that people feel watched. People feel watched. And I think that also has a bad side in Korea, which is people always tend to blend into the crowd. They're kind of shy I feel like it really influences how people express themselves. They feel watched, they feel scrutinized. Even even especially as foreigners, I guess, when we talk to Koreans, I feel like they almost look left and right in the street because they're talking to a foreigner and they're wondering what other people are thinking about them talking to a foreigner. It comes to that point of like a huge clash that they don't even feel comfortable talking to a foreigner because it's very conspicuous and they feel watched by the other people. And also like if I'm filming with my phone just down the street in any country around the world, usually the bystanders, they're not worried about me filming. But in Korea, I've actually had people tell me, don't record in here because like in a shop or something, or sometimes even in a street where like if there's someone who's just like for a long time, for a few minutes in the video, they'll feel uncomfortable and they'll ask me to cover their face in the video if I post it online. Or if I take a selfie or a photo of something in the street, it's not unusual for people to ask me to put to cover like with a smiley or something. So people are very conscious of their photos being taken and things like that.
I think the first thing that you mentioned is that people are able to blend in because there's always something, you feel like there's always something watching, and you're always like they call it nunchi, right? You have the nunchi. You can feel what everyone is kind of feeling around you, so you're always cautious. And imagine that you're doing all these negative things online, but you can act normal around you. because you can feel.
Yeah, right.
So you can get away with it, kind of. And that's what makes the Korean society a little different as well. And yeah, it's with these cameras and all. I think most people in Korea understand the dangers that come with it. And I think the phone cameras as well. You can't take pictures without the noise in Korea, right? Like, they build that hardware, the phone hardware, so that it kind of makes that flashing sound when you take pictures in Korea.
See.
It's like they force you to do that.
So that people know that you're taking a photo.
Yeah, yeah. I noticed that coming here. It's like it's a must. If you buy a phone here, that's you gotta, it kind of forces you to do that. And there's a reason behind that, because they really like it to be private, but still they still see these problems happening in Korea, right? And even though like the public is safe in general, like outside it's safe, but like, yeah, in these hidden places you get to see all these cybercrimes. Even online you get to see a lot of people being bullied. You see different cases of this. It's just it's very interesting to see that, really, because I think everyone kind of looks calm, but then online it's very it's crazy.
Yeah. Like for me, the idea that tech privacy can influence who you are, like your personality and the way you behave in the real world, is really it's kind of scary. It's kind of scary.
I think the blend between the Korean conservative society and the tech, it has created this environment where people are a little scared of what's going to happen online if they say something wrong, especially like these celebrities. We've seen different cases where people speak up about something and then they're like, oh, you shouldn't say that. And all these people online, they are against it, and they apologize just for that sake, right? Just for the sake of not being pointed at and told like, oh, you're doing this, right? Like, kind of get bullied on. I haven't seen that. That hasn't happened to me, but I've seen it happen to like these big people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But I guess it's really good that the Korean government is on top of the situation.
Yeah, definitely.
I think people in general, like like us or the normal, the average Joe, I guess, unless it's someone like you who's like, you know, confronted with tech every day and thinks about this, we don't think about it. Even people in high positions of power, like big businessmen, I just remembered, for example, in that the Panama Papers. Did you hear about that? It was basically, I don't know how long ago, a few years ago, a company that made shell companies. So basically, they explored a loophole of our system, and they were able to basically provide shell companies for a bunch of for anybody who needed them. So if I want to make a company and not be traced to that company, because if people like, if I make a company called Manu Limited, for example, people can check who owns this company, and they don't find me, they find another company. And then they go like check who owns this company, what is that company doing, and then it's another company, and it just goes on and on. And they don't, there's no address, there's not like a physical building or an office.
So you're questionable.
I'm not there. There's not my name there.
I see.
There's no papers, and only the head office has those papers, but it's very hard to get to the head office. So basically, it's just like a labyrinth of empty company names. And so what happened was, a lot of criminals, like drug lords, or I don't know, human traffickers, whatever, like any kind of crime, was benefiting from this, because they use shell companies to do their business, and in a legal way, in terms of paperwork. And so it means that they can use banks and all that, because they've got the papers, the legal papers for carrying out the business. And this went on for a long time, and this company made a lot of money. I think it was called Mossack and Fonseca, the company.
Okay.
And the reason why the case is called the Panama Papers is because the headquarters was in Panama. But the reason why they were caught, like they had this really elaborate scheme. They were really intelligent people. The reason they got caught was this white hat hacker, somebody who's trying to do good for the world, found the company, saw what they were doing, and reported them to, I don't know, like the international police or something. And they were caught because one independent person, like a computer programmer like you, decided that they should be caught. And even as a joke, one of the CEOs of the company said we should have invested more in cybersecurity because they had plenty of money to invest in cybersecurity. They just didn't consider doing it.
It's
So yeah, like even people in that kind of position, they don't think about cybersecurity.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. Yeah, it's pretty. You see a lot of these people that have this power that are capable of hacking things or like finding things out through their computers. They do good, and that's always admirable because you can easily go the other way, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very tempting as well. I've heard a few podcasts where people that are working in these big companies as head of cybersecurity, they work really hard and they kind of get fired, and it was unjust. And what happens is they have all this information of the company. They have all these credentials, like login credentials, and it's very easy. It takes like one night to get like, drunk or pissed off or like annoyed about life and just take money, right? So it's very difficult to stay like to do good things when you have this kind of power, and it's very admirable that even like you see all these famous people. Edward Snowden, he was one of the people that exposed a few things that did a lot of things, and that helped a lot of actions come to light, and that's very impressive, right? So if it's very easy to go both ways, but hopefully a lot of people are able to do positive things with this.
Like in the case of Edward Snowden, he showed that the actual American government was spying on everyone, not just Americans, but like the whole world.
Everyone. They're still looking for him. They still have they're still looking for him.
And that's the thing also, which is like we could call him a hero because he's a man of the people, right? He's telling every one of us, you're being spied on. You know, they're using your information for profit or for whatever, but they're reducing you as a human. They're dehumanizing you into a consumer profile.
That's very true.
And instead of being praised, he's a criminal. He's an international wanted criminal in exile.
Exactly.
And so it's crazy that, you know, why isn't this bigger? Like why aren't people telling the American government stop calling him a criminal, stop chasing him, because he's not a criminal, he's a hero.
I think if you have the power, you can get away with a lot of things. Look at like Facebook, Cambridge Analytica, and all these things, right? They did a huge crime. It's a very big deal, but they got away with it, right? We see a lot of things going on in the tech world, and people do get away. Recently, there's been a cryptocurrency scandal with Sam Bankman-Fried, this guy that created a bank for.
Was it Quadriga?
It's called FT,
okay.
Something like that. And what he did was he just took a lot of cryptocurrencies and a lot of people's monies, and he used it. And suddenly, when people wanted their money back, it's not there, right? He has this digital currency that's not really worth as much as the actual currency. And it started falling, right? And eventually, what happened was, I think he's like not in prison, but he's like a home prison kind of thing, and they're keeping him there until he gets like some sort of sentence or whatever. And it's very surprising how people can get away with these things if you have the money. He had a lot of connections with people. He had connections with like all these politicians. His family was like from a higher kind of they were politicians, and he kind of got away with it until very recently, when people realized he took so much money and did he's very young,
Mhm.
and he had like a group of friends,
Mhm.
and he used that money to do a lot of different things for his own,
Mhm.
right? And it's very shocking how people can get away with things when they have money and
Yeah.
power, right? It's the same in the tech world. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
The only thing you can do is just protect yourself and do your best not to turn into one of those people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's a case similar to that one. The company was called Quadriga something, Quadriga CX or something. And also, I'm not sure if they were, I guess they were a bank or like a stock exchange kind of thing for cryptocurrency. And so a lot of, but it was actually, it seemed legit, but it was fraud. It was like a Ponzi scheme. So basically, they convinced people to put their money there. If somebody asked for money, they would, just take the money that the other guy borrowed, that the other guy put in. And so, yeah, just a classical Ponzi scheme. And the thing is, when people started realizing that this could be a Ponzi scheme, they got scared and they started pulling out their money. And the guy, the CEO, died mysteriously in India. Did you hear about?
Yeah.
And the thing is, he died. He was the only one who knew like the passwords and all to access the money.
Yeah.
So all these people were left empty-handed. They lost all their money.
God, yeah.
A lot of people left empty-handed, and so there's a lot of conspiracy theories that he didn't actually die, and that he just faked his death and that now he's spending the money, or that he actually died. He was murdered by someone who is now spending that money because they got the pass keys from him. So that's another case.
Yeah, it's just amazing to hear these things. I've heard a few more cases where in Silicon Valley there was this lady that was saying that I can just take a drop of your blood and identify the diseases that you have or some sort of inclinations to any type of disorder or disease that you may have. And she's been saying that for like 15 years. She's been getting so much money from like investors, billions of dollars. And she was like the next Elon Musk, or like not the next the founder of Apple, what was his name?
Steve Jobs.
The next Steve Jobs. And everyone's like praising her. And it was all a lie. In the end, everyone realized she has like this huge lab that could sample blood, and she promised like a small device that could just take a drop of your blood, let you know what's going on, right? And so many companies, including like these huge companies like Walmart and different Silicon Valley companies, they invested so much money, but it was all a lie. And there's a lot of good that's being done when it comes to like these investment things. Like when people sell these things to you and you like just believe them, just go for it. A lot of good comes from that, but a lot of people also use it. I think this lady still, even now, she believes that she can do that. She can like make it happen, right? She's very confident about it, but still, she wasted so many people's money, investors' money, and nothing came out of it. Right? So, yeah, a lot of people can use it for that. As long as you're confident and you know what to say, how to convince people, convince investors, you can kind of get away with it. Yeah, it's surprising. It's a lot of money.
I think that's another example of how most of us are sitting ducks. Like for people who are tech savvy and who want to exploit this, or even people who aren't tech savvy and who pretend they are, and they talk to us about these wonderful things that they're working on, and we believe them because we don't know, we have no realistic knowledge of the truth to what they're saying.
It's always good to be aware of what's going on and what technology is capable of, for the good and for the bad. Because if you're not, you just don't know what's going on, and it's very easy to exploit people, right? We see one of the simplest attacks, like cybersecurity attacks, is that people send these random emails to people, and if I'm a hacker, I send you an email saying that, well, someone sent you an email message on Facebook, right? And I send you a link. It says facebook.com with one O, right? It's Facebook. So if I'm not able to like look at it calmly, I wouldn't be able to tell. click on the website, it looks legit, it looks like Facebook, you log in, you might even be able to access Facebook, right? But later on, you have actually been hacked. That person that built that website has like link, took that password, right? So if you're not aware, like even though Facebook builds this amazing security system, you can still. So I think the biggest takeaway from most of these things is that people should be aware of what's going on when it comes to security, privacy, and all these things that we see around us. If you're not aware, it's just very easy to exploit. Yeah, it's the chain is as strong as its weakest link. If you're not careful, even though you have the best security system, even though there's you have the best phone that's really secure, it can still get hacked.
Yeah.
Your information can be used. So yeah, that's one takeaway.
Yeah. Like this might be weird, but I feel more safe knowing that there's white hat hackers than, for example, I don't know, about government policy or laws. Because I think when it comes to tech, laws don't really matter because a black hat hacker, like a good hacker who wants to steal information or cause damage, they're able to do so. Because I think that there's just no way of stopping them unless you're someone who has good intentions, a white hat hacker who is better than them and who is trying to protect us from something.
Exactly. It's always these heroes are they do change society for the better, and it's hard to find them, but it's very impressive. And knowing how much power that you have in your hands, like I said before, it's very difficult to stay like that. To always remember that should like in the movies as well. When people find power, it's very, you always think like, oh, maybe I can use this for my own benefit. But it's always admirable to see people trying to do all these things. There's a lot, even for the Korean scandal and thing, there were like a few people that told, that informed the journalists, even the journalists themselves. They faced a lot of like threats and all these things, and they did it anyways, right? So yeah, there's good in humanity still.
Yeah. There's good people who try to protect us from that.
Yeah, definitely.
Like there's that hacker group called Anonymous. I really like that group because like in several occasions, I felt like the stuff they said made a lot of sense, and I don't know, I just have like this I could be wrong, but the impression that I get from that group is that basically it's a team of white hat hackers trying to make the world a better place. So acting on behalf of all of us to counter black hat hackers, like that guy who exposed the Panama Papers company. Anonymous. I don't remember any specific case. I think it was a time when there was a terrorist attack in England, maybe a few years ago, that they started. I think they called it Operation White Rose. I'm not sure if I'm mixing things up, but they gave names to their operations, and they tell us what these operations are. And basically, I think at that time they were like capturing the terrorists. So the people from Anonymous, they were just basically doing what the police couldn't, and like catching the bad guys.
That's impressive.
I have a vague idea of something.
They do things like that. I've seen some around. I just don't remember now, but they do a lot of good things. And it's not only against like black hat hackers, but also like against government bodies, like these huge corporations that are not doing the right thing.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what makes it's pretty cool to see. I think they had like an Instagram handle or something. It's been a while. But they post all these different things like, this government body or like, this person or this hacker is like should be questioned about this thing. And it sheds light to whatever is going on. Yeah. We as people, we're not aware of a lot, so that kind of information can help you know what's going on with this. Maybe that can make a significant difference in society.
Yeah.